Lila Weston had never imagined she would download a dating app that began its questionnaire with the prompt, "Name the thing that makes your palms sweat." Yet on a rainy Tuesday evening, after 3 hours of half-hearted scrolling through ordinary profiles, she typed the single word that had haunted her since childhood: clowns. Coulrophobia. The app, called Hearts Afraid, claimed a quirky philosophy. By matching users through the intimacy of vulnerability, it promised, fear becomes a bridge instead of a wall. Some pairs shared the same phobia and soothed each other. Others had complementary fears and learned to trade compassion. Photos were optional, real names weren't required, and video calls were forbidden. Lila, whose heartbeat tripled if a party balloon even hinted at a red nose nearby, found the concept bizarrely comforting. She wouldn't have to pretend. When the algorithm linked her with someone using the screen name Mott8, she felt the buzz of curiosity rather than dread. His phobia read, "Enclosed spaces, MRI machines sent me into orbit." A note below, "Working on it." She tapped a polite greeting. Their chat flowed easily, two strangers delineating the edges of fear, as though sketching maps of ancient kingdoms. Within a week, they agreed to meet in person under the app's official protocol. A daylight rendezvous in a public venue, with the app's concierge texting each step like a game master. Lila's phone chimed all morning with pop-ups. "Be sure to keep an open mind," and "Every fear deserves a witness." She silenced the notifications and arrived at the Greenhouse Cafe 20 minutes early. Matt8 turned out to be Mateo Alvarez, tall, with a quiet steadiness in his eyes, as though he measured every room for hidden crawl spaces. They both ordered peppermint tea and laughed about the bartender's novelty bow tie, which happened to be polka-dotted. "So," Mateo said, cradling his mug, "no surprise balloon animals in here?" Lila smirked. "If a clown shows up, you'll see me sprint faster than Usain Bolt. And if they lock us in a broom closet, I'll negotiate your release from the outside." They toasted to their hypothetical rescue mission. Conversation shifted from fears to hobbies, and time dissolved until the cafe's owner stacked chairs on tables. Neither felt the need to dissect why trust formed so quickly. Perhaps fear, bared early, pried open other doors. Before they parted, both phones pinged. A glowing badge announced, "Match verified, Stage 2 experience available." Below, a single sentence, "Face your shadows together and watch them shrink." A button labeled, "Accept," pulsed invitingly. Mateo raised an eyebrow. "What's Stage 2? "No idea," Lila said. "The FAQ says it's optional, some curated activity to challenge us. But we can skip it." "I don't know," Mateo mused. "Maybe it's the kind of jolt we need, a controlled test, and we'd have each other." His faith felt infectious. Against her better judgment, she tapped "Accept." He matched her. The next evening, identical black envelopes slid under their apartment doors. Inside each lay a minimalist invitation, stamped with the Hearts Afraid insignia, a stylized heart whose two halves curled like mirrored question marks. Printed instructions directed them to Warehouse 47, Docklands District. 7 p.m., 3 nights later. "Dress comfortably, sign the attached waiver and bring it." Lila's gut wobbled. She called Mateo. "It sounds like an escape room." "Probably," he said. "Look, if it feels wrong, we can bail immediately." "Promise." Scout's honor. Friday dusk tasted of salt and diesel fumes. Warehouse 47 crouched by the river, its corrugated metal skin mottled with rust. A lone security lamp flickered near the door. They arrived separately by rideshare, yet stepped inside together, cliché movie bravery guiding their shoulders together. The lobby was unexpectedly chic, polished concrete floor, potted ferns, track lighting that glowed soft amber. A receptionist behind a podium welcomed them with the serene smile of a yoga instructor. "Welcome, Lila and Mateo. Please place phones in the lockbox for confidentiality." She gestured to a transparent cube with digital seals. "You'll retrieve them later." Lila hesitated. Mateo squeezed her elbow. They surrendered their devices. The lid hissed shut. "Right this way." The receptionist pressed a button. A sliding panel revealed a corridor lined with velvet curtains. Hidden speakers murmured calming music. They walked, their footsteps echoing. Another woman, this one wearing a headset, handed each a small lapel pin with a blinking green light. Heart monitors, she explained. Safety measure. If rates spike too high, we intervene immediately. Enjoy your experience. Steel doors parted. They stepped into a room no larger than a freight elevator, and the doors sealed behind them with a hydraulic groan. Mateo's breath hitched. The walls closed in visually, though the dimensions stayed constant. Projections of creeping metal plates simulated shrinking space. Simultaneously, recessed lighting turned carnival bright, and from a hidden alcove waltzed a life-size animatronic clown. Its smile was painted blood red. Every filament of Lila's childhood nightmare surged. She slammed her back against a wall that felt perilously near. Mateo's fingers clawed for seams in the door as the projections advanced. "This isn't funny," he shouted. "Stop the program." The clown giggled. Arms jerked in mechanical loops. Confetti cannons exploded like gunshots. Lila screamed, heart battering ribs. A robotic voice rose overhead. "Remember, you are safe. Breathe through the discomfort." "Open the door," Mateo roared, voice cracking. He hammered the steel. Sweat slicked his temples. The heart monitor pins glowed from calm green to urgent red. For a moment, Lila's terror sharpened into anger. Fire enough to cut through paralysis. She grabbed the clown's arm, half expecting foam. It was solid metal. "Mateo, help me!" She yanked until the joint cracked. The clown lurched. Sparks fountained. Smoke filled the shrinking illusion. Sprinklers activated, drenching them. The psychedelic light snapped to white. Ceiling panels lifted. Technicians in black jumpsuits rushed in with extinguishers, parted the smoke, guided them to folding chairs. Someone pressed electrolytes into Mateo's trembling hands. "Deep breaths," a supervisor said, a woman with a clipboard in an unbothered tone. "Your numbers were within tolerable limits, but we chose to abort." Exposure therapy is never easy the first time. Lila spat water. "Therapy? That was torture. We follow clinical guidelines. Participants can withdraw at any time." "You sealed us in," Mateo shouted. "Protocols exist for your safety. If you'd read the waiver." He hurled the electrolyte bottle. It skittered across concrete. The supervisor's calm faltered. "If you choose not to continue, we'll escort you out in arranged transport." They needed no further invitation. Phones were returned. A rideshare awaited. Sliding into the back seat, Lila's limbs still shook. Mateo's chest heaved in silent aftershocks. The driver asked no questions. As city lights blurred, Lila examined her phone. The Heart Afraid app displayed new banners. "Congratulations on completing Stage 2, and Face Stream Replay available." She froze. "Mateo, look." His screen mirrored hers, plus a thumbnail. An overhead shot of them inside the claustrophobic room. Clown looming. A play button pulsed. "No way," he whispered. They tapped simultaneously. The footage played with slick editing, multiple angles, heartbeat audio spikes, dramatic zoom on Lila's pale face when confetti burst. At the bottom corner, a chat window scrolling with usernames and coins indicating donations. "Holy crap, the clown dropped though. Clauster guy gonna faint. Bet 50 credits. Raise the lights more." Lila's stomach dropped through the floor. "They streamed us. Live." Mateo's hand crushed the phone so hard his knuckles whitened. "People paid to watch?" He scrolled, jaw tightening. A counter at the inn read, "Viewers, 83,192. Total tips, $41,730.00. "Someone is making money off us," Lila murmured. "Off our panic." They stared at each other, pulses sinking in fresh alarm. Back in her apartment, Lila couldn't sleep. She scoured the app's terms of use. Buried in a labyrinth of subclauses, she found the phrase, "Content may be recorded for therapeutic review purposes," but nothing about public dissemination. She typed keywords into search engines until dawn tinted the window glass. Nothing surfaced. No mention of Hearts Afraid broadcasting to any mainstream platform. At 7:03 a.m. Mateo texted, "Come over." She arrived with caffeine and a laptop. He greeted her at the door, dark circles under eyes, hair unbrushed. "Watch this." He navigated to a site on the dark web, an address he'd found in code snippets extracted from the app. The homepage banner read, "Phobos, live fear, is entertainment." Clips auto-played. A woman hyperventilating as tarantulas crawled over her. A man shrieking inside a crashing flight simulator. The layout mirrored their replay. Mateo clicked a panel labeled Schedule. There, under last night's date, Clown Box versus Claws in Walls, 2-person. A note, performance rating 9.6. Next to it, revenue statistics. Layla covered her mouth. "It's a whole business." "Look at the domain registration," Mateo said, opening metadata. The same parent company that owned Hearts Afraid owned Phobos Live, Ender layers of shell corporations, where we hasn't anyone blown the whistle. Victims probably don't know. They're tricked, like us, or too ashamed to speak. Lila exhaled slowly. A malignant calculus sharpened in her mind. Shame equals silence equals profit. We have to stop them. Mateo's claustrophobia hadn't vanished overnight, but resolve stiffened his spine. First, we collect proof. Then we burn them to the ground. They spent that Saturday night chain-watching other streams, mapping server addresses, capturing screen recordings. Every clip logged the same pattern. A Hearts Afraid Stage 2 date disguised as therapy, culminating in a tailored scare and a flood of tipping spectators. No illusions remained. It was industrialized schadenfreude. By dawn, they'd compiled a dossier, a mosaic of contracts, finance trails, victimless spreadsheets scraped from unsecured folders, and the gaudy highlight reels. But evidence alone felt fragile against a corporation with lawyers and stealth. Lila paced Mateo's living room. "We need a smoking gun, real-time infiltration." Mateo's eyes flicked to the waiver forms they'd kept. "What about Stage 3? A silence thickened. The app had already nudged them. "Your bond deepens. Stage 3 opens soon." If they re-entered willingly, they might plant hidden devices, capture behind-the-scenes operations. The risk was colossal. Trust in the promised heart monitors was gone. "It might crush your lungs," Lila warned, "and unleash your worst nightmare." He met her gaze. They nodded. Sunday night, they created new email accounts and ordered wearable micro cameras disguised as cufflinks. Mateo built a signal scrambler to keep the cameras from being detected by standard sweeps. They practiced calming techniques, box breathing, grounding touch points. They wrote contingency letters to siblings in case of disappearance. On Tuesday, the hearts on the app glimmered. Stage 3 unlocked, private residence. Thursday, 9 p.m. An address followed, a suburban mansion on the outskirts. They pressed accept. Thursday arrived carrying thunderclouds. They parked a block away, pockets weighted with gadgets. The mansion loomed, driveway empty. At the porch, a familiar concierge took their phones and guided them through richly wallpapered halls to a parlor with Victorian furniture. Candles flickered like a seance. The concierge spoke softly. "Tonight's experience involves deeper immersion. Remember your safe gestures." She pointed to a camera dome in the ceiling. "We monitor your vitals constantly." Lila fought the urge to laugh at the hypocrisy. Hidden within Mateo's jacket lapel, the cufflink lens rolled, streaming to an encrypted cloud storage. Lila wore counterpart earrings doing the same. They were led into separate antechambers for individual priming. Lila's door locked behind her. A microphone crackled overhead. "Lila," a voice purred. "Let us revisit the clown." A screen descended, showing rehearsal footage. "You panicked, but tonight you may rewrite the script. Tell us how you'd like to transform your fear." Lila refused to answer. The voice continued. "Silence equals consent." The screen rose, a metal slot opened, sliding in a clown mask and a handheld mirror. "Put it on. Become what you fear," the voice coaxed. She ignored the objects and instead inspected the walls, locating the camera eye. She smiled sweetly and raised her middle finger. The cufflink recorded everything. After 15 minutes, the door unlocked. A guard escorted her down a staircase into a basement that looked suspiciously like a television studio, black floors, adjustable rigging, prop shelves. Rows of monitors showed live feeds. She glimpsed Mateo inside a fake elevator whose walls inched inward. Heart rate graphs climbed on side screens. A staffer directed camera angles, shouting, "Give me the claustro close-up." Another crew member adjusted donation tiers on the streaming overlay. TIP 500 for full blackout. Lila's blood boiled. She feigned faintness, wobbling strategically near a fuse panel. A technician rushed to steady her. She whispered, "Air, need, chair," and pointed toward a stool. When the tech bent, she snatched his key card and palmed it. 2 corridors later, she found Mateo set. The elevator box hadn't closed yet. He paced, performing just enough nerves for the cameras. Their eyes met through a seam. She flashed the stolen card. He gave the slightest nod. Back in the control room, the director counted down. On my mark, panic sequence. Lila slipped behind a console and jammed the card into a maintenance slot. A menu bloomed. System routing. She toggled switches at random. Feeds blinked, glitched. "Who touched video 4? The director barked. Lila kept her head down, clicked Excel logs, set path to a public file share link she and Mateo prepared. Progress bar raced. Suddenly, alarms blared. Mateo had kicked the elevator door off its track, sending sparks across the stage. He emerged holding a broken panel as shield, weaving through shrieking staff. Camera drones buzzed. One crashed into a spotlight. The director swore. Security converged. Mateo sprinted, met Lila in the hall. "Streams chaos. Did we get data?" "Uploading now. 30 seconds. Heavy footsteps thundered. They darted into a wardrobe room. Lila found an emergency exit map and traced a route with her finger. Loading dock, then fence. A guard appeared. Mateo swung the shield, knocking him sideways. They burst through double doors into a corridor lit red. A siren whooped. Lila's stolen keycard opened the last door straight into rainfall and shipping pallets. They leapt from a dock, rolled, ran until breath came ragged. They didn't stop until they reached the car. Mateo yanked open the trunk and extracted an old laptop tethered to cellular hotspot. The cloud backup pinged complete. He punched the air. "Let's make them famous," Lila said. That night they compiled an exposé stills from heart rate dashboards, revenue statements, candid audio of executives discussing upping the terror quotient. They masked faces of other victims, posted the package on every social and mainstream outlet. Dating app streams user panic for profit. Evidence inside. He emailed investigative journalists, law enforcement, and cyber rights groups. Within an hour, hashtags trended globally. By dawn, Phobos Live's servers buckled under traffic and subsequent DDoS attacks from enraged hackers. Hearts Afraid vanished from app stores. A week later, federal agents raided the mansion. News helicopters filmed executives frog-marched in cuffs. An anchor cited the whistleblowers only as L. Weston and M. Alvarez. "What's going on?" Albert, when authorities offered to add them to a witness protection program, Leela laughed. "We didn't stop living to hide again. Instead, they moved to a cozy neighborhood near the river, where warehouses sat quiet, and clown costumes, if any, stayed locked away." Mateo's therapist arranged gradual exposure sessions in sunlit, wide-open rooms. Leela attended, holding his hand. In return, he signed her up for aerial yoga to practice trust while suspended. Whenever either balked, they reminded each other. Fear is a bridge. One crisp autumn evening, months later, they lounged on the balcony overlooking the city. Mateo balanced 2 mugs of cocoa. Lila tapped her phone, scrolling headlines of the ongoing trial. Victims were testifying, settlement numbers ballooning. "Do you ever think," he asked, "about how a single clown and a shrinking box led us here?" "All the time." She traced steam with her finger. "I still panic if I see clown makeup, but it passes faster. And elevators? How are we doing?" "Still weird," he shrugged. "But I can ride 4 floors before my chest tightens. Progress." She smiled softly. "Therapy by vengeance tour." He chuckled, then turned serious. "Whatever fear throws next, we face it together. Deal?" "Deal." Beneath them, river light shimmered like confetti, no clown in sight. No walls closing in, merely the ordinary unknown stretched ahead. They clinked mugs, acknowledging that safety isn't the absence of fear, but the presence of someone who grasps your shaking hand and squeezes back until the trembling eases.